Hello and welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Taylor and today I will be doing my monthly reading wrap up for May as well as a brief June TBR. But before we hop into the video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you like all things books. Alright, so let's start this video off with a few bookish stats. So I read 7 books in the month of May. I read 6 of those physically and 1 on my Kindle. My overall average rating for the month of May was a 4.57, so I definitely had some bangers for this month. And then the most common genre that I read this month was obviously romance, second one being contemporary. So contemporary romance was the vibe this month, but I did actually pick up a fantasy this month, so we'll definitely get to that book in a minute. But yeah, without further ado, let's hop into every book I read in the month of May. The first book I read this month was Collided by Lauren Asher, which is the second book in the Dirty Air series, and this book follows Sophie and Liam, which you get to hear their story in the first book, but whereas the first book kind of tells the timeline from Maya and Noah's point of view, now the second book tells the timeline from Liam and Sophie's point of view. Lauren Asher's writing is always funny and hilarious and super fast-paced, and I just drive with it well. So I ended up giving this book a 4.75 stars. I definitely think I enjoyed it a slight bit more than the first book, Throttled. But as with all Lauren Asher books, or the 2 that I've read so far, they have yet to reach 5-star status for me, mainly just because I need that 5-star feeling. But also there's a few jokes / references that I don't particularly jive with in her writing. I did do a full review of this over on TikTok, and as with all of the books that I'm mentioning today, I will have those reviews linked up here. But if you think you might be interested in this one, it's a sports F1 racing romance with a slight age gap, and it features a friends to lovers sort of moment, or more like a strangers to friends to lovers, or I don't know how to describe it, but it definitely features some form of the friends to lovers minor second chance romance. Now, after reading Collided, I got into a physical book kind of mood, trying to make it through my physical TBR, so I picked up Legendborn. There we go. Legendborn by Tracy Dion, and this book follows Bree as she spends her first semester at UNC Chapel Hill's early college program. And while Bree is there, she discovers that magic exists in the world, and somehow she has this freaky connection to it, as well as her mother's death has a freaky connection to it. So she decides to take part in this secret Arthurian society in order to figure out what the heck went down when her mother passed away. This book does feature a minor little love triangle that I'm sure we'll explore more in the second book, which I haven't bought yet because I have the first book in paperback and I'm going to wait to get the second book in paperback when it comes out. But this book was absolute perfection in terms of a YA fantasy for me. I gave it 5 stars. The book tackles topics of grief and racism and microaggressions and just generational trauma and knowledge so beautifully and eloquently. There was no scene in this story where I felt like it was unnecessary. And usually with books this long, I feel like they get a little verbose and repetitive. But yeah, and also in terms of the love triangle, while friends to lovers is a fun little moment, I'm definitely an enemies to lovers girl, and I am Team Cell all the gosh darn way. Next, I picked up my first ever full-length dark romance, and that was Hooked by Emily McIntyre, and this is a part of her Fractured Fairy Tale Never After series, and this is a twisted reimagining of the story of Peter Pan, and this follows James Barry, or James Hook, as he devises a plan to take down his mortal enemy, aka Peter Pan, by getting with Peter's daughter, Wendy, and all the things that ensue in that process. I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars. Now, she is a rom-com girly, but I definitely am seeing the appeal of dark romance. I don't know if I will ever read a dark romance that gives me the 5-star feels, so that could be the vibe. But the spicy scenes in here were real enjoyable. I am a Disney fairy tale girly, so I love diving into fairy tale reimaginings and retellings. And I love how Emily McIntyre kind of always gives her heroines just a little bit more of the upper hand, at least towards the end. I will say I think I liked her heroine in the other book I read this month just a little more, because Wendy in this book is just a little bit more subdued personality-wise, like a little more meek in terms of personality. But yeah, definitely a good read. Just, I guess, dark romance, we'll have to see where it goes. But if you're interested in this one, this has mafia vibes in it. It has the choking kink. Sorry if you hear some sort of vibrating noise in the background, because it seems that every time I want to film today, someone has to be doing some sort of car work or construction outside. But the next book that I read was Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. This book was more of a palate cleanser for me. This book follows Chani and Gabe in two different timelines. The first timeline follows the first time where Chani is a young and up-and-coming reporter, and she does this major blowout article on Gabe Parker before his first major movie deal as the James Bond, like playing James Bond. And then it follows them 10 years down the line where they try to recreate the magic of this first interview. Only thing is that a lot of things went down during the first interview that they really need to get over in the second interview. So it sort of follows their second chance romance. This book was just meh. In my opinion, like, it was good. I will preface in saying that second chance romances, particularly second chance romances with a relatively considerable time gap in between the couples getting back together and breaking up, etc., are not my favorite. This book, I think, kind of lacked some of the nuance that a dual POV could have given it, because it has Chani's POV, it has a lot of different newspaper and like magazine articles describing the events that went down, but it doesn't have Gabe's POV, and I feel like that would have just made the story more believable and more interesting to take part in. It definitely is a fun, quick read. I gave it 3.5 stars. I gave it that extra half star because I couldn't put it down. I was determined to figure out what the heck went down between these two. But outside of that, there's a cute dog and an okay love story. And that's sort of what I got. But if you like second chance romance, celebrity, like the star, like, was it celebrity romances? Then there's that. And I believe the second part of the like interconnected standalone series is coming out this year. Next up, I picked Never Been Kissed by Timothy Janofsky, and this is the only like queer romance that I read this month, and I picked it up because I'm not gonna lie, some of these straight romances just be a little crazy, and I needed something to cleanse the palate. But I think this is his debut novel. I'm not completely sure. It is his debut novel. So this is his debut novel, and then I believe he has like a Christmas romance coming out. But for a debut novel, man, was this book fun. I think I ended up giving this book, I think it was like 4.75 stars. I need to go check StoryGraph for that. It wasn't a 5 stars just because I felt like because of its brevity, it left me wanting a little bit more out of the story. But man, was this book such an absolutely fun time. I described this to my friend as gay panic personified in a story. So I should probably describe what it's about. This book follows Rin as he is a 22-year-old, just graduated from college, film studies major, and he spends his birthday night getting drunk, and his friends are getting on to him about the fact that he has never been kissed, aka the title of the book. So in his drunken stupor, he sends out emails to all the boys that he has almost kissed before. And one of them, his childhood best friend Derek, gets back to him, and when he finds out that he's going to have to work with Derek all summer, well, things just ensue. And man, is it a fun time. This book features demisexuality rep, which I haven't like heard of or read from a lot of books. This book also depicts queer platonic relationships so well, and it has a cute little like subplot involving a drive-in and like an old like movie theater director, like an old movie director, and man, was it a fun time. It just moved things along. Derek and Ryan are so cute. This is new adult, but it features no spice, so if you're looking for that, there's that. But yeah, and it is a male-male romance primarily, but it does feature side characters who are also in different types of queer relationships. Next up, the second book that I read from Emily McIntyre was Scarred, and this is her fractured fairy tale retelling / I guess twisted reimagining of The Lion King. This book follows Tristan Fossa, the scarred prince, who is dead set on taking down his brother Michael, the current king, for various reasons. And on the opposite end, we have his love interest, Sarah, who comes to the castle betrothed to Michael, determined to kill both the Fossa brothers in order to avenge her father's death. And man, was this a fun little story. I give this one 4.5 stars, just like the first one. I have stated that I definitely think I like Sarah more in this story than I did like Wendy in the first story, just because Sarah's more my vibe. Like, she's a little assassin girly at heart. Like, she is the girl who wields the sword, or in this case, the daggers, because, you know, that's the story. So that's what gets me. I don't know if I have much more to say about this. Again, didn't get that 5-star feelings. This one's a little bit longer than the first book. It does take them a little bit longer in this book than it did in Hooked for them to get together physically. In terms of the spicy scenes, there's that. This one has the spanking kink in it. There is very hard to say those words together. Yeah, I will say, similar to the first book, she's, I think, 21 and he's 26, so I don't know if that's like the average age of all of her heroines and heroes in all of her books. But yeah, so minor age gap in these books. But yeah, fun little time, as much as fun you can have in a dark romance, and a satisfying ending. Alright, so the final book that I finished in the month of May was a book that I pretty much finished in one day, one sitting, and I actually finished Ever Been Kissed in one sitting, so there's that. But it is the YA romance, A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow. Now, this book had me feeling all the summer vibes. So this book follows Leela Reyes as she is sent off to spend the summer in England with some extended family after her hometown family, like her immediate family, notices she's not doing well mentally after a few things went down at home. And while she's in England, she kind of learns a few things about herself, and she also discovers a few new loves and passions, including that being the boy Orion Maxwell. And man, is Orion Maxwell climbing his way near the top of my book boyfriend list, because he is just delicious. So yeah, this book, like I said, I think I said this, but it's just summer personified. It does tackle the topics of grief and loss and like breakups, both platonically and like romantically, but it all does all of that in such a cute summery vibe, like interweaving like cute baking and food moments, traveling and touring England, and man, was it just a fun old time. So I definitely think for a YA rom-com, this would definitely be such a good one to recommend to most people. I mean, I gave it 5 stars. But yeah, if you're interested in this one, obviously it is a YA rom-com featuring a Cuban female main character, and it discusses a lot about Cuban or like American, like Cuban American culture as well as English culture, and it's a sort of like strangers to friends to lovers storyline, and it does touch on the topics of grief. If loss of a loved one is a trigger warning for you, I don't recommend picking this up. But yeah. Alright, so for a quick June TBR. So I am trying to stick to primarily Pride reads for the month of June. If you don't know, I am bisexual. I identify as a queer woman. So I've been realizing that I'm lacking in like my queer reads on my shelf, so I want to expand that. And Pride Month is the perfect month to do that, because, you know, every corporation will be capitalizing on Pride. But yeah, so I have a few books here physically that I've picked up. The first one being The Gifts That Binds Us, which was the second book in a series, and this follows Maeve, Ro, Fiona, and Lily, and this features a non-binary main character, or a genderqueer main character. And yeah, it's just the second book in a series. It's following a bunch of witchy goodness in the town, I don't know what town it is, but it is in Ireland. And this one does feature discussion around a Christian radical extremist group and their attacks on LGBTQ plus people and monuments within the city. So this one may be a tough read for some people. It is YA. I think most of what I have here is YA. Up next, we have The Meet Cute Diary, which just sounds absolutely cute. This is YA, although I will say it says the author in the back primarily focuses on writing kids literature, so I need to read it, but it probably would also fall into the middle grade category. But this follows Noah Ramirez. He is a trans boy, and he is the publisher or author of a popular blog that talks about all of these beautiful like trans meet cutes and relationships. Only problem is that everything he has written is total fiction. So once he gets called out on that, his friend, who is, I don't know, Drew, his friend Drew, proposes that, you know, he plays the fake boyfriend. So they go on and do this fake relationship, and as always with a fake dating story, they supposedly end up together. So yeah, up next I do have, I believe this is an adult, yes, this one is an adult romance. It is a sapphic romance, and yeah, I don't think I've really read a sapphic romance in a hot second, so yeah. And this one has good old celebrity vibes. I love my celebrity vibes. I know I didn't love Fun and You Should Ask, but there's that. And this follows Lila Silver, who is a young actress who dreams of climbing out of the B-list stardom, and Noah Birnbaum, who is a brilliant makeup artist and special effects genius, but is finding it hard cracking into the union. And if anyone, actually you probably won't know this about me, but I wanted to be a makeup artist in high school, as well as I worked a lot on stage productions, so I'm very excited. But yeah, so these two actors, this actress and this makeup artist, eventually start working together, and apparently, which is in the rom-com vibes, they start getting together. And the review on the back says it has hints of Casey McQuiston, and we all know that Red, White, and Royal Blue is one of my favorite books of all time, and you can't not read something like that. And then, because I have it here, my Kindle, I started A Company of Fiends, which is the second book in the A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor series, and it supposedly does feature like a few queer, it's mainly erotica, monster smut, so I'm not sure how much queer relationship's going to be in there, but it does feature male-male interactions. And then the other book on here that is of my queer readathon is Heart Haunt Havoc by Freydis Moon. And this one is supposed to be like a horror thriller love story between a trans man and I don't know who else, but I downloaded that, and that one is a novella, so if it's cute and it's sweet and it's quick, maybe that will be a good one to like just pop on the reading list for the month of June. But yeah, that is my brief June TBR and my monthly reading wrap up for May. Let me know what you thought of the books that I read this month, if you and I agree or disagree, or if you're, dying to read some of these, and leave your June/Pride Month recommendations in the comments down below.